In 2025, the global and local conversations around marriage equality have taken an alarming turn. The introduction of a same-sex marriage ban threatens to reverse years of progress toward inclusive, equal rights. For many, marriage has transcended its traditional definition to become a symbol not only of love and commitment, but also of legal and social acceptance. But with this looming ban, those gains are at risk. This shift isn't just abstract or distant, it's personal, immediate, and deeply consequential. Imagine this. Whether you're part of an LGBTQ plus couple crafting your life together, an ally fighting for fairness, a friend trying to understand the ripple effects, or someone simply curious about social justice dynamics, this change has the potential to affect you. Here's why it matters. First, legally, marriage unlocks a host of protections: inheritance rights, healthcare access, tax benefits, adoption capabilities, immigration status, and more. Remove or restrict those, and you're stripping away fundamental rights. Families could be torn between privilege and prejudice. Individuals may find themselves in limbo over medical decisions or financial security. Second, consider the psychological and societal toll. The right to marry isn't just a legal checkbox. It carries symbolic and emotional weight. For couples, it's a public affirmation of love. For communities, it's a signal of acceptance and validation. Revoking that sends the opposite message, one that can stir feelings of rejection, isolation, and fear. Youth observing that shift may internalize harmful messages about their identity or worth. Third, the broader societal impact spans beyond those directly affected by the ban. Allies may feel a sense of betrayal or urgency to stand up. Employers who've embraced inclusive benefits may face new legal conflicts. Healthcare professionals may grapple with conflicting legislations when treating patients. Advocates who've tirelessly campaigned for equality must now recalibrate strategies, mobilize resources, and confront fresh setbacks. Fourth, and critically, this ban underscores larger questions about how democracy works when the rights of minority groups are up for debate. What protections exist, if any, when popular sentiment seeks to override constitutional or human rights? At stake is not only marriage equality, but also the principle that civil rights shouldn't be suspended by shifting public opinion or political expediency. This introduction isn't meant to alarm without grounding. It's meant to frame what's at stake and why it touches everyone, not just those directly affected. Over the next sections of the essay, we will unpack exactly what the 2025 ban entails, its legal language, scope, and reach. Who stands to be most immediately impacted, and how? What broader societal, economic, and legal consequences could unfold? How individuals and communities can respond? From grassroots activism to legal challenges. The phrase same-sex marriage ban 2025 captures a potential legal and cultural turning point in the ongoing struggle for LGBTQ plus rights. At its core, the term refers to a set of laws, constitutional amendments, or judicial rulings enacted in 2025 that either prohibit the formation of marriages between two people of the same gender or revoke the legal recognition of marriages that already exist. While the concept may sound straightforward, its definition is layered, and its scope reaches far beyond the wedding altar. From a legal standpoint, the definition of such a ban involves more than simply refusing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. It may include retroactive annulments of existing marriages, the stripping of associated benefits, and the removal of spousal recognition in areas like taxation, healthcare, immigration, and inheritance. The scope here is expansive. Marriage is a legal gateway to over 1,000 rights and protections in many jurisdictions. A ban, therefore, doesn't just affect romantic partnerships. It changes the legal status of entire families. On a societal level, the definition takes on symbolic weight. Marriage is often viewed as the ultimate public declaration of love and commitment. Denying that right communicates a broader message: that same-sex love is not as legitimate, respectable, or valuable as heterosexual love. This cultural dimension of the ban cannot be separated from its legal one, because laws both reflect and shape public attitudes. A same-sex marriage ban in 2025 would not merely be a matter of legal paperwork. It would be a powerful social signal capable of influencing how communities perceive and treat LGBTQ+ individuals. The scope of the term also extends into economic, political, and even global arenas. Economically, such a ban could impact wedding-related industries, tourism, and the relocation decisions of skilled workers seeking inclusive environments. Politically, it could become a lightning rod for election campaigns, dividing parties and mobilizing activist movements on both sides of the issue. Internationally, the ban's existence could affect a country's standing with human rights organizations and diplomatic partners, potentially impacting trade, aid, and cultural exchange. It's also important to recognize that the scope isn't limited to same-sex couples themselves. Friends, family members, employers, healthcare providers, and even religious institutions may be drawn into its effects, whether through legal compliance requirements, changes in employee benefit structures, or moral and ethical debates within their communities. Historically, bans like this have served as a reminder that civil rights are not permanently secured. They require constant vigilance and advocacy. In 2025, the term same-sex marriage ban would symbolize not just a rollback in marriage equality, but a broader retreat from the principles of fairness and inclusion. Its definition captures the immediate legal act. Legal implications of a same-sex marriage ban. When discussing the same-sex marriage ban of 2025, it's impossible to overlook its far-reaching legal implications. Marriage is not only an emotional commitment, it is also a legal contract that grants couples a host of rights, protections, and responsibilities. Removing the ability for same-sex couples to marry doesn't just limit symbolic recognition. It dismantles a legal safety net that has been carefully built over years of advocacy and reform. First and foremost, inheritance rights are among the most immediate concerns. In many jurisdictions, spouses automatically inherit property, assets, and financial benefits without lengthy legal disputes. A ban strips same-sex couples of this automatic protection, forcing them to rely on wills, trusts, or legal agreements that can still be challenged in court, often by unsupportive family members. Healthcare decision-making is another critical area. Married couples are typically granted legal authority to make medical decisions for an incapacitated partner. Without marriage, same-sex partners may be excluded from hospital visitation or barred from participating in life-saving decisions. In emergency situations, this can mean delays, confusion, or outright denial of a partner's voice in critical medical care. Tax benefits and financial stability also take a direct hit. Married couples often enjoy reduced income tax rates, deductions, and exemptions. The ban would mean same-sex couples lose these advantages, potentially paying thousands more annually. Beyond taxes, there are employment benefits such as employer-sponsored health insurance, retirement plans, and family leave policies, many of which hinge on marital status. Without legal recognition, employers may be unable or unwilling to extend these benefits to same-sex partners. Adoption and parental rights form another significant battleground. In many places, marriage simplifies adoption procedures and automatically grants both spouses legal parental rights. Without marriage, same-sex couples may face costly, time-consuming legal processes, or worse, risk losing custody if one parent is not legally recognized. In cases of separation, the non-biological parent may have no legal claim to the child they have helped raise. Immigration law is also profoundly affected. In countries where spousal sponsorship is the pathway to residency or citizenship, banning same-sex marriage can separate couples across borders. Partners may be forced to live apart, face deportation, or seek asylum in more inclusive nations, a heart-wrenching reality for many. Finally, there's the constitutional dimension. Many argue that banning same-sex marriage violates principles of equality and non-discrimination enshrined in constitutions or human rights treaties. Such bans invite legal challenges, potentially setting up years of courtroom battles that could reshape civil rights law for generations. Social and cultural significance. The concept of social and cultural significance goes beyond laws, policies, or surface-level trends. It speaks to the ways in which values, traditions, and shared beliefs shape the identity of communities and influence human interaction. At its core, it's about meaning, the meaning we attach to relationships, symbols, rituals, and the societal norms that govern our lives. Understanding this dimension is essential because it reveals not only what people do, but why they do it. From birth to death, we are surrounded by customs and shared understandings that define who we are and how we connect to others. Festivals, ceremonies, language, fashion, and art are more than aesthetic expressions. They carry stories, histories, and moral codes. For instance, a wedding ceremony is not merely a legal contract. It is a social ritual embedded with cultural symbolism, representing unity, love, and the joining of families. When a society changes how it views such rituals, it reflects a transformation in collective consciousness. In the modern world, social and cultural significance is deeply intertwined with identity and belonging. People find a sense of purpose when their values and lifestyles are recognized and respected within the larger cultural framework. Conversely, when certain practices, identities, or relationships are excluded from cultural acceptance, it can lead to feelings of alienation and marginalization. That's why cultural recognition matters. It validates people's existence and affirms their role within the social fabric. The media plays a vital role in shaping what is considered socially and culturally significant. Through films, music, literature, and news, certain narratives are amplified while others are silenced. Representation in media can shift cultural perceptions dramatically. For example, the inclusion of diverse voices in mainstream entertainment challenges stereotypes and expands society's understanding of what is normal and acceptable. Cultural significance also acts as a bridge between generations. Traditions passed down over time preserve history, while evolving interpretations ensure that those traditions remain relevant in the present. This balance between preservation and adaptation is crucial. Without it, culture risks becoming either stagnant or disconnected from its roots. For example, many societies have adapted traditional practices to be more inclusive, reflecting modern values while honoring the past. On a broader scale, the social and cultural significance of any issue, be it environmental protection, human rights, or marriage equality, can shape political landscapes and influence public policy. What a society chooses to celebrate or condemn reveals its moral priorities. When cultural significance aligns with inclusivity and fairness, it can foster unity. When it reinforces exclusion, it can deepen divisions. Historical context. The story of same-sex marriage is not a straight line of progress. It is a winding path marked by victories, setbacks, and constant negotiation between law, culture, and human dignity. To understand the significance of a same-sex marriage ban in 2025, it's important to trace how we arrived at this moment and what history teaches us about the fragility of rights. For centuries, marriage was largely defined by religious institutions and state laws as a union between a man and a woman. This definition was deeply rooted in cultural norms, religious teachings, and legal traditions, leaving little space for same-sex relationships to be recognized or even discussed openly. In many societies, same-sex relationships were criminalized, stigmatized, and pushed into secrecy. The very idea of same-sex marriage was considered unimaginable in most legal systems for much of modern history. It wasn't until the late 20th century that LGBTQ+ rights movements began to challenge these entrenched definitions. Activists across the globe fought not just for the right to marry, but for broader recognition that same-sex love was valid, worthy, and deserving of protection. Countries like the Netherlands, which became the first to legalize same-sex marriage in 2001, set a precedent that rippled across continents. In the following years, marriage equality spread rapidly: Canada in 2005, South Africa in 2006, and eventually the United States in 2015. When the Supreme Court's Obergefell v. Hodges decision recognized same-sex marriage nationwide. But history also warns us, rights won can be rights lost. The same-sex marriage movement has never been immune to backlash. Opponents have often framed marriage equality as a threat to tradition, religion, or societal stability. This resistance has led to referendums, constitutional amendments, and legal challenges aimed at reversing progress. In some countries, marriage equality has been legalized, only to be later restricted or overturned due to political shifts or public pressure. The prospect of a ban in 2025 echoes these historical tensions. It reflects a recurring cycle in civil rights history, where progress sparks opposition and inclusion becomes contested terrain. We've seen similar reversals in other areas, such as voting rights in the United States, where legal protections once thought secure have been eroded over time. The lesson is clear: social change is not a permanent guarantee, but a continuing effort. A same-sex marriage ban in 2025 would not exist in isolation. It would be part of a broader historical pattern of rights expansion followed by pushback. It would also reignite fundamental debates. Who gets to define marriage? Should rights be subject to popular vote? And most importantly, how do we protect the dignity of marginalized groups when political winds shift? Political and global impact. When a country enforces a same-sex marriage ban in 2025, the effects ripple far beyond its courtrooms and communities. It becomes a political flashpoint at home and a subject of scrutiny abroad. In politics, such a ban is rarely a neutral policy choice. It is often used as a powerful tool for shaping public opinion, rallying certain voter bases, and influencing the national narrative. Politicians may frame it as a protection of tradition to appeal to conservative constituents, or as a moral necessity aligned with religious or cultural values. For others, the ban becomes a rallying cry for resistance, mobilizing human rights activists, progressive lawmakers, and civil society groups who see it as a step backward for equality. Domestically, the political consequences are immediate. Lawmakers and political parties are often forced to take clear positions, which can polarize the electorate. In some cases, political alliances may shift. Groups that previously disagreed on economic or security issues might unite over the question of marriage equality. At the same time, grassroots activism gains momentum. Street protests, legal challenges, and social media campaigns can reshape political discourse, turning what might have been seen as a moral debate into a central election issue. The global stage tells another story. In an interconnected world, domestic laws rarely stay domestic. International human rights organizations such as Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch are quick to respond, releasing statements, publishing reports, and applying pressure through advocacy campaigns. Countries with strong commitments to LGBTQ+ rights may respond with diplomatic protests, cutting aid, or placing restrictions on trade agreements. For example, similar policies in the past have led to economic sanctions or the withdrawal of foreign investments, particularly in sectors like tourism and tech, where inclusivity is part of corporate branding. Beyond governmental reactions, global public opinion plays a critical role. In the age of instant communication, news of a same-sex marriage ban can trend worldwide within hours, sparking both outrage and support across borders. This heightened visibility can affect a nation's cultural exports, international tourism, and even its participation in global events like sports tournaments or cultural festivals. Some countries have seen boycotts of major events or cancellations of international collaborations due to human rights concerns. Economically, the global impact can be significant. Multinational corporations increasingly weigh social issues when deciding where to operate. A ban may make a country less attractive for foreign investment, especially from companies with strong diversity and inclusion policies. Investors often view regressive social policies as a sign of political instability or as potential PR liabilities. As we reach the closing of this exploration into the 2025 same-sex marriage ban, it's clear that its implications stretch far beyond the boundaries of love and ceremony. They reach deeply into legal frameworks, societal norms, psychological well-being, and the very essence of democratic values. This isn't a relic of distant history. It's unfolding before us, and it's immediate. The fallout is multi-layered. For the couples directly targeted, it may mean stripped rights to shared finances, inheritance, adoption, and healthcare decision-making. For families, it could introduce painful disruptions, denied visits, contested custody, restricted recognition. Communities may experience fractured social cohesion, especially in places where acceptance had taken root, only now to be shaken by reversed policies. Economically, there's also a real cost. States or regions enforcing such bans may deter businesses and professionals who prioritize inclusive environments. Tourism, industry, and cultural investments can slow or vanish. Employers previously offering equal benefits may face legal peril or employee unrest. Healthcare systems might encounter confusion or compassion gaps when marital status affects coverage or consent protocols. Psychologically, the ban sends a powerful message. Where once marriage equality served as affirmation, now revocation feels like disenfranchisement. Young people witnessing this may internalize a sense of their lives being less than, while allies may feel a renewed urgency or deep frustration in the fight for change. Yet, it's not all despair. History teaches us that setbacks can fuel renewed vigor. The introduction of a ban can galvanize communities, spark broader alliances, and invigorate legal challenges on constitutional grounds. Activists, advocates, and affected individuals may find solidarity across lines, civil rights groups, faith communities, human rights organizations, uniting behind principles of fairness and dignity. If the ban triggers litigation, courts may again serve as bulwarks for minority rights, intervening when legislatures overstep. If public consciousness is reignited, more people may recognize that equality won't protect itself. It must be defended and advanced. And if individuals feel empowered to speak, protest, vote, or run for office, social change becomes more than theory. It becomes action. So, what can you do? Start by staying informed. Know your rights and how this ban affects you or those you love. Support legal organizations through donations, volunteer time, or amplifying their message. Vote with conscience for representatives who value equality as a cornerstone of civil society. In conversations at work, over meals, in communities, speak up for why fairness matters for everyone, not just some.